Good morning. Welcome to Miracle Network's Wednesday Meditation Gathering. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. Today we have Ruth White, who will lead us in meditation. Then we have 20 minutes of silence, and after that we open it up for sharing. Over to you, Ruth.
I'd like this to be an experience, not an intellectual talk. And so it's lovely to see you all, one and all. And could you stand up? I wonder what went through your head when I said stand up. So if you need to just sit down, sit down. We can still balance ourselves and bring the harmony and yoga back into the body. So feel your feet on the floor in the shoes. And divide the weight equally between your feet. Lift the toes up and see if you can feel a gap between the toes as you spread them out. Not too much on the front foot nor the heel, just balanced in between. Pressing the feet into your shoes. From the center of each ankle, pull the shin bones up. Pull them up inside the legs. From the center of each knee, pull the thigh bones up. And from the pelvic floor, lift behind the pubis, behind the navel, lift the inner body up. Not just a mental thought, but you can feel it lifting. Creep up the inside of your spine, the spine facing the front. Take the energy up. Lift the heart vertically up. Can you roll the collarbones up towards your ears? Exaggerate that so you feel wide across the chest. The weight still equally divided between your feet. Lift behind the eyes. And out of the top of the head. Feel your full height from the crown of your head to the heels. And the heels feel wide on the mat or on the floor. Deepen your breathing. Such a pleasure in standing straight, in equilibrium. Needs very little effort. You feel quite light. Lovely. And if you'd like to sit down, yeah. Good. So in the same way you balanced on your feet, balance the body now. If you can feel the sit bones, if you've got a hard chair, just come into your center. So yoga is all about balance and harmony. And I'd like to talk to you more about harmony and balance. Yoga is from the Sanskrit word yuj, which means harmony, balance. So we're terribly fortunate, really fortunate to have a body to use as a tool to bring about this balance. And the body is just a tool, as you well know. And it's a way of bringing the right and the left hemisphere of the brain into balance. And you'll know when it's in balance, both working together beautifully, the ego mind and the heavenly mind, the right side, heavenly mind. Because then you breathe through both nostrils. I'm not talking about somebody who's broken their nose and can't breathe through one nostril. It's that doesn't deter them from balancing the brain, but balancing the right and the left side of the mind brings a harmony to the whole body. It happens very easily at twilight and at dawn, when the sun is at a certain angle to the earth. It's like a pause at the end of the breath, that the beginning of the day and the end of the day. Or the pause at the end of a pendulum swing, when it moves and hangs in the air for a moment. Or the high jumper, as he's just going over the bar, we hope, hangs in the air. It's the pause between the words. Pause between the cessation of one desire before the beginning of the next. It's actually when we're walking too. There's a Sanskrit saying, padum, padum, which really means 1 foot at a time. And to be balanced and harmonious, we need to be in the present. You can't find balance in the past or the future. We need to be here and now. So the body is really a wonderful tool, as it's always here and now. If a thought goes through the mind about the future, then the body reacts now. Same with the past thought. It can only be now. So what a wonderful tool we have here. An agitation in the body is an agitation in the mind, but it comes in the mind first. It'll show up in the body. The body will react to the thought. It may be such a small reaction that we don't notice it. That was proved to me when I had an electroencephalogram and I saw the tracing of this heart monitor. And it wasn't right. She thought it wasn't right because I was meditating at the time. So the nurse did it again. And so for the first 30 seconds, I meditated. And then for the last 30 seconds, I had a scary thought. And it showed up on the tracing. And I said, could I have that to show to my students? And she said, oh no, it's hospital property. So it was a shame. But you can, of course, control your heartbeat. What takes us out of this harmony, this present moment? it occurred to me that as I was gazing around, I was identifying everything, giving it a name, unless it was something I didn't know. What a wonderful place it is to be when you don't know. As soon as, and we train children to identify, holding articles up and naming them and pointing out their own name over and over again. So it's quite natural to us now that we identify everything. But with that identification comes a little death, a little non-seeing. You know how it is when you're in a place and you're lost. You look around for familiar objects and you really look. But as soon as you find it, then you go to sleep again. So if we can be in a place of unknowing, and just with a seeing for its start, just look at an object without any history to it, without any name. Just look at the shape, the color, as if for the first time. You know, in the Bible, Jesus almost jokes at us, and he said, you have eyes that don't see, ears that don't hear. And it's true. But if you get a glimpse, and I'm sure you do, of looking with God's eyes, not that God sees this world, but without a name and without a form that you could identify, then you're free. But we have ideas and history to most of the objects we see. A girl came into yoga last Tuesday and she said, I can't lift my arm higher than that. I've got a frozen shoulder. So I said, fine. And just link the thumbs together and go as far as you can with both sides of the body. Didn't want her to go home lopsided. It wouldn't be a good advert at all. So she went through the class, about half an hour, and I could see she was getting tired. So I said, well, now we'll kneel down into child posture, which is just kneeling on your heels and stretching your arms forwards like this. And she was tired and she knelt down and stretched her arms forwards like that. She'd forgotten. She'd forgotten. The idea had gone and the arm was free. So are we going to be ruled by ideas? We know that they're not true. Anything in the mind is not in the here or well, anything. When we're seeing with the ego eyes and hearing with that part of the mind, it's not true. It may be a fraction past or a fraction in the future, but it isn't true. You listen to the ticking of a clock, or perhaps you've got a repetitive little sound where you are now. And the sound, as it's made, has a completely different quality to the tick, or the sound that's gone, or the sound that you know will come in the future, you think. The thinking bit is not true. There are two worlds here, one of the ego mind and one of the heavenly mind, and only one of them is true. And you can't have a little bit of one and a little bit of the other. And that's the miracle, when you shift from the ego into the heavenly world. It's a wonderful, lightening experience, isn't it? I'm sure we've all got experiences like that. And it's good to remember that. when the cloud comes down and we drift into the ego mind. And that's where all the worries and the problems are. When I used to go to India to see my teacher, Iyengar, we would usually take him a present. It was this sort of done thing. And one of the students took a pot of money and put it on the stage ready for the guru. And when he came in, he said, "Who gave me this?" And the chap said, "I did." And he said, I don't collect money. Give it to somebody who collects money." And the chap felt a bit crestfallen. And Iyengar said, "I want something that you don't let go of, even at the point of death. You hang on. And something very near to you, part of you, you think." And we couldn't think what it was. So he told us it was all our problems, our worries, our troubles. That's what he wanted. That's what he was there for. So we don't have to wait till the point of death, do we? It's miracles are happening all the time. It's a joyful process. We are so incredibly lucky, fortunate, I should say, to be on this path. And what I find the most influential bit of it all is your company. It's supportive. It's all one. So just bringing to mind moments when you felt at one, perhaps childhood moments. For me, it's my grandparents' garden. Just sitting on a summer's day, the harmony was all pervasive. So it isn't something we have to strive for and practice for even, because it's there all the time, just to welcome us in all the time. So we just step into this harmony when we remember. And what better to remind us of who we are than the body? I traveled a long way in India, taken by some Indian boys to see their guru. And we were allowed to ask one question. And I said, "How can I remember?" This guru was in a little hut in the yard, and he seemed to live in there all the time. And he had a very skeleton-like body, but his eyes were very bright in the gloom of his hut. I put my head in the hole in the side, and that was his window. But and said, "How can I remember?" And he just said, "The body." I thought, I've come all this way, and he just says the body. And he knew nothing about me. And so just to make sure, and everybody had asked their question, I went back and said, "Did you say the body?" He said, you know. He looked a bit like Nisargadatta, if you've ever seen a Nisargadatta on the tape. Bit of skin and bone, but lovely eyes. And he sort of said it, "You know." And I later realized what a gift he had given me. Here we are with a tailor-made body to answer all our questions. And to hear that, we need to fall silent. And that's the practice, isn't it? We can't hear what there is to know unless we're silent in the ego mind. The ego mind is very necessary in this world. Well, and it stores in it all that we think we are, or we think we're, and we have a character picture that we carry around. It's quite a burden sometimes. You know, I'm a yoga teacher and I'm dyslexic and I don't like washing up and all this sort of stuff. And you can drop it at any moment and you'd laugh at it. It's such a funny thing. So we don't have to carry our burdens around, as you know. What happens when you open your eyes after meditation? Does it all back on your shoulders? I know for a moment or two after corpse posture, the end of yoga class, I feel incredibly free and everywhere and light, full of energy and yet quiet and calm. Energy is wonderful if it's channeled. If it's not, it's quite destructive, really. As Nisargadatta said, movements are unnecessary and sometimes positively destructive. Well, I think that's going a bit far, but however. Desires motivate or rule the world, desires. You know, you want a cup of tea, so you walk across the kitchen. There's always a desire, I have found through my experience, behind my motivation. I'd very much like to hear what you feel about this. Shall we have a meditation now?
Open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 7 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to, if you'd like to share, raise your hand, or you can use the electronic hand at the bottom of the screen, and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. Teresa, take yourself off mute.
Ruth, thank you so much. There were so many gems in what you were saying, and I so enjoyed the standing up. And I haven't done the internal ankles before, and I could really feel the difference. And when you were saying, really, we can use the body as a you didn't use that, I don't think you said portal, but it really does tell us what's going on with the mind. And so all the little analogies that you made with the course and the body, I did like that and found that so helpful. And all this thought about, there were so many thoughts, but one of them, how we label everything. The course quite clearly talks about, we know nothing, and as soon as we label it, and we learn to, it's dead. Really, we've taken. That was so interesting, and once we've found something, then the energy has gone. We go back to sleep again, and I thought the desires, one desire, oh, I want a cup of coffee. Oh, maybe I'll have something sweet now. Oh, and it goes on and on. So thank you for everything. That was lovely.
Yes, I noticed a slight pause when I asked people to stand up. I don't know whether it was a shock or what.
Who would like to share?
There's a great deal of difference between listening to a good lecture, the intellectual side of the brain, and an experience, because we only learn by experience. And you don't have to be moving to experience something. But I actually find lectures that are completely intellectual a bit boring. And as soon as the lecturer gives some personal observation, I become alive again. And I did find the first, it's the first lesson in our course quite difficult at first. This door has no meaning, this window has no meaning. I found that quite difficult. It's on the third time of reading through, I got it. Well, at least I didn't get it, but it became alive to me.
Lottie, would you like to share?
Thank you, Ruth, for what you've just said, because for me it was more of an experience, because I found that I wasn't even hearing the words. I was just tuning in to what you were saying in some way and just becoming part of it. And it was very, very beneficial to me. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's wonderful observation. Yes, it's like the whole thing absorbs the sound. Yes, I've had that experience too. Actually, my experience like that was when I was listening to the wader. And I seemed to be the music. My whole body heard it. Yes. Do you have memories of when you don't think of it as a miracle at the time, but when you went into heavenly world, perhaps it was when you were a child, and the memory is so clear, you remember little details.
I was in heaven yesterday.
Were you?
Teresa and I went to Regent's Park and we did a meditation there, and it was just beautiful. And then all these little creatures came up to us, and we had some nuts. We were feeding them, and it was so much fun. And then this couple near us were watching, and they were smiling. So I gave them a handful of nuts, and they were feeding them, and it was just so much joy
Yes.
to be there. And it was a beautiful day. I felt like I was in heaven.
How lovely. And so simple.
So simple.
Yes.
It's always there.
It's always there. That's very good to remember that. Yes.
Who'd like to share? Dennis, take yourself off mute.
I was in the Maldives, sitting on the water's edge, and the small waves were coming in, and these little teeny fishes were swimming between my fingers.
Oh.
And I just felt a oneness with them, and I thought, how beautiful, how trusting they are, and they'd swim in between my fingers, and I felt a oneness with them. You know, I was one and not separate.
It's the beauty of it, isn't it? The beauty in both those observations. Yes. When you notice the beauty in a situation or an object, it takes you out of the material to something behind it. You feel it in yourselves.
I saw a quote the other day, which I really resonated with me, and it was from Buddha, and he said, "See something good in everything." I thought, oh, that's so beautiful. It just rewires the brain.
It's good, isn't it? Yes. You probably know the story about the students who thought they'd trick their master, because he was extolling about the beauty and everything, and they took him to see the corpse of a dog, which was rotten, and said, "What's the beauty in that?" And he paused a moment, and he said, "What beautiful shining teeth."
Okay, we've come to the end of our time together. Thank you, Ruth. That was lovely. And take yourself off mute and show your appreciation.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you, Miracle Network.